Welcome to the Silenced History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos. A patient wears specialized therapeutic equipment designed to treat facial medical conditions in England during early radiation therapy development. These primitive devices represented pioneering attempts at targeted medical treatment. Innovation preceded refinement. Medical documentation captures individuals with rare physical conditions during early 20th century anthropological studies in Brazil. These photographs served as scientific records while raising questions about ethical research practices. Science struggled with dignity. British Major General Horatio Robley poses with stolen preserved heads acquired during New Zealand's colonial wars. These sacred indigenous remains became twisted trophies for European collectors obsessed with exotic cultures. Respect became plunder. Germany's Kaiser Wilhelm II inspects Ethiopian people displayed behind wooden fences at Hamburg's Colonial exhibition. European royalty toured these human exhibits like visiting a zoo while promoting imperial expansion. Monarchy legitimized human spectacle. Faces peer through barbed wire from a train destined for places no one should go. The railway car carries human cargo toward history's darkest destinations. Transportation became the machinery of genocide. At Dreamland's Coney Island, Filipino families were displayed like exotic animals for entertainment. Crowds paid to gawk at primitive people performing daily rituals. America's shameful spectacle of human exhibition. German zoologist Professor Lutz Heck poses with an elephant and indigenous family he brought to Berlin Zoo as living exhibits. Scientists used academic credentials to justify displaying human beings alongside animals for public entertainment. Science became spectacle's accomplice. Columbia, an Inuit girl born at Chicago's World's Fair, sits with her dog after being transferred to St. Louis exhibition. Her entire life became a traveling spectacle moving between American cities as a living attraction. Childhood became commodity. Traditional Krampus performers display elaborate ceremonial costumes during Austrian winter festivals, celebrating ancient folklore. These theatrical presentations preserved mountain culture while entertaining visitors during holiday seasons. Heritage became performance. A young girl embraces her unusual companion during the era of unconventional photography trends. Victorian portrait studios captured society's strangest relationships between children and their peculiar friends. Childhood looked different then. A child poses with an Easter character during holiday festivities in the United States during the 1980s. These seasonal traditions brought families together while creating lasting childhood memories through community celebrations. Holidays shaped childhoods. Dorothy Counts walks through hatred as the first black student at an all-white school. White classmates mock and jeer behind her, their faces twisted with rage. Courage never looked so lonely. A black man drinks from the colored fountain while "white women only" signs enforce America's shameful separation. Two water sources, one nation divided by the color of human skin. Equality measured in sips. A hotel manager attempts to clear a swimming pool during civil rights protests in 1964. Black swimmers refused to leave despite hostile actions from staff. Segregation's desperate attempts to maintain control. Otto Frank stands alone in the secret annex where his daughter Anne hid. When church bells rang, he broke down completely, remembering Anne's diary entries. The photographer wept too, capturing raw grief. Hollywood's famous roaring lion sits calmly while cameras capture the iconic movie studio logo during early cinema days. This majestic beast unknowingly created one of entertainment's most recognizable symbols. Fame found the king of beasts. Charles Joen, the ship's baker, survived the Titanic disaster through extraordinary circumstances that inspired movie scenes decades later. His real story of survival in freezing waters defied all odds and expectations. Reality exceeded fiction's imagination. Iconic Mexican artists Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera posed together during their tumultuous marriage in Mexico City. Their passionate relationship fueled revolutionary art that challenged social conventions and political boundaries. Art mirrored life's complexity. You've just seen 13 photos. There are 56 more waiting and hundreds more in our archive. If these images moved you, don't miss what's coming next. Subscribe now and become part of history's witnesses. Deep beneath the earth, miners crowd into metal cages for their daily descent into darkness. 3 levels of exhausted faces peer through bars like prisoners descending into industrial hell. Coal-powered progress at human cost. This woman undergoes controversial treatment at a German mental hospital in 1890. Standing therapy was considered standard medical practice for psychiatric patients. Historical medicine's misguided approaches to mental health. Skilled artisans craft precise facial molds in their specialized workshop during the era of forensic advancement. These masks preserved final expressions for identification and artistic purposes. Art met science in mortality's service. 2 Native American girls sit outside government boarding school buildings designed to erase their cultural identity. Forced assimilation policies separated children from families for generations. Education became cultural erasure. A Native American woman poses in traditional dress during the era of forced cultural assimilation policies. Studio photographers captured indigenous identity while government schools systematically erased tribal languages and customs. Beauty preserved, culture under siege. Within these classroom walls, a quiet revolution unfolds as black and white students learn together. The single black student sits among white classmates, breaking barriers through simple presence. Education's power to change everything. A bystander intervenes during a suffragette protest in London as police maintain order during women's rights demonstrations. These confrontations became defining moments in the struggle for gender equality and democratic participation. Change demanded courage. A performer dressed as an ancient Mayan deity demonstrates traditional ceremonial attire in Mexico during cultural preservation efforts. These authentic recreations helped maintain indigenous heritage in modern Mexican society. Culture survived through ceremony. Members of the Sandy Society participate in traditional women's cultural practices in Liberia during post-Civil War period. These ceremonies preserve ancient African traditions while adapting to modern political realities. Tradition survived conflict. Members of the Poro Society gather in Sierra Leone during traditional ceremonies that preserve ancient knowledge systems. These cultural institutions maintained community structure and wisdom across generations despite colonial disruption. Tradition survived change. A spiritual practitioner demonstrates traditional healing methods during documentation of indigenous medical practices. These ancient techniques represented centuries of accumulated knowledge about natural remedies and community wellness. Wisdom transcended written records. Archaeologists carefully reveal secrets buried for thousands of years in ancient Egyptian tombs. Each layer of linen removed brings modern science closer to Pharaoh's mysteries. Death became archaeology's greatest teacher. Alternative therapy approaches were explored in Japanese medical facilities during experimental treatment programs for various conditions. These unconventional methods reflected changing attitudes toward patient care and rehabilitation techniques. Medicine explored boundaries. Photographer Peter Beard documents wildlife conservation efforts during his African expeditions, combining art with environmental activism. His work brought global attention to endangered species and habitat preservation needs. Art served conservation. A pioneering woman photographer captures aerial views of Berlin from dangerous heights during photography's adventurous early era. Her courage challenged gender barriers while documenting urban development from unprecedented perspectives. Art demanded bravery. Administrative records document judicial procedures during the final years of the Ottoman Empire's legal system. These historical photographs preserve evidence of justice practices before modern legal reforms transformed the region. Law evolved gradually. From above, Reactor 4's destroyed core reveals the moment atoms split civilization apart. This helicopter photograph captures humanity's most dangerous mistake still burning below. Progress became apocalypse in a single night. A young participant faces consequences at an extremist gathering in 1992. State troopers respond professionally to an unusual situation involving a minor. Some family traditions shouldn't be passed down. The last photograph ever taken of the unsinkable ship shows passengers in lifeboats watching their floating palace disappear forever. Within hours, luxury became legend, and confidence turned to catastrophe. Hubris met iceberg. Nurses in London test experimental gas protection for infants during World War II preparations. These terrifying contraptions were designed to save babies from chemical attacks. Motherhood meets warfare in humanity's strangest invention. A couple poses with their collection of wooden performers in their living room entertainment business. These carved companions brought laughter to audiences across vaudeville stages nationwide. Wood became more human than humans. A Japanese-American family stands before their vandalized home in Seattle, Washington, after returning from Idaho internment camps. Hateful graffiti covers their front door while children witness America's broken promise. Freedom returned, but trust remained shattered. American sailors evacuate Korean civilians from Hungnam Port during the largest military evacuation in history. Families clutch their belongings as naval vessels become floating lifelines to freedom. War turned rescuers into heroes. In French schools before 1956, lunchtime included an unexpected beverage. Children received up to half a liter of wine daily with meals. This healthy practice was considered completely normal until authorities finally banned it. A Victorian family demonstrates their innovative motorcycle with sidecar attachment during the dawn of personal motorized transportation. Father, mother, and children embraced the mechanical revolution that would transform society forever. Progress had wheels. A young English boy poses with his unusual feathered companions during an era when exotic pets were popular among wealthy families. These portraits captured the Victorian fascination with natural history and animal collecting. Companionship took many forms. Inside coal processing plants, young boys worked among crushing machinery and toxic dust clouds in Pennsylvania. The particles filled their lungs while they separated coal from rock debris. Childhood sacrificed for industrial America's endless hunger. Rows of mechanical breathing machines fill hospital wards during the polio epidemic's darkest days. Patients lived inside metal cylinders while families prayed for medical breakthroughs. Technology kept hope alive. Allied soldiers crowd into landing craft before storming Normandy beaches during history's largest amphibious invasion. These young faces show determination mixed with fear as they approach Nazi-occupied France. Freedom's Price sailed across the English Channel. This frozen moment captures 58,307 metal rectangles hanging from the ceiling. Each tag represents a young American life lost in Vietnam's jungles. The weight of war made visible. A U.S. soldier stands amid captured gold bars worth billions discovered after Saddam Hussein's regime collapsed in Iraq. This treasure represented decades of wealth stolen from the Iraqi people during his brutal dictatorship. Liberation revealed hidden fortunes. Soldiers receive emergency treatment in makeshift battlefield hospitals during World War I's bloodiest campaigns. Medics work frantically among the wounded while shells explode in nearby trenches. Medicine raced against warfare's machinery. Soldiers practice peeling onions while wearing gas masks during chemical warfare preparation in World War I. This surreal scene shows how armies adapted to new horrors unleashed on European battlefields. War evolved deadlier appetites. An African-American doughboy cradles a tiny kitten during World War I military service in France. This tender moment shows humanity persisting amid the industrial machinery of modern warfare. Love survived trenches. A Croatian soldier poses beneath graffiti expressing his wartime experiences during the Balkan conflict. His message reflects the psychological toll of extended combat on young fighters. War's impact on human spirit. A French circus entertainer uses anatomical props during theatrical performances designed to educate and amuse audiences simultaneously. These educational shows combined entertainment with scientific curiosity popular during the era. Learning through laughter. Two performers prepare backstage in matching costumes during vaudeville's theatrical heyday. Their synchronized smiles hide the demanding reality of entertainment industry life. Show business required perfect facades. The band of milkmaids performs during a traditional festival in Cologne, showcasing regional folk music traditions. These community celebrations preserved local culture while entertaining crowds gathered for seasonal festivities. Music united neighborhoods. Law enforcement documents the altered fingertips of notorious criminal Alvin Karpis during his capture by federal agents. He had surgically modified his prints to avoid identification during his crime spree. Even fingerprints couldn't hide from justice forever. Giuseppe Morello poses for police documentation in New York City during the early days of criminal identification systems. His distinctive physical features made him easily recognizable to law enforcement agencies tracking organized crime. Identity became evidence. A mother and daughter engage in traditional spiritual practices within their humble dwelling during documentation of rural religious life. These intimate moments captured faith's role in sustaining families through difficult times. Prayer brought comfort. A woman displays her daily catch from coastal fishing activities during documentation of traditional maritime livelihoods. These photographs captured disappearing ways of life before industrial fishing transformed seaside communities. Ocean provided sustenance. A young person displays traditional ceremonial headwear during anthropological studies of indigenous artistic expressions. These artifacts represented complex spiritual beliefs and cultural identity, preserved through artistic creation. Art carried meaning. Urban life in Mumbai captures the intersection of traditional transportation methods with modern economic activities during India's rapid urbanization period. This scene reflects the complex social dynamics of developing metropolitan areas. Progress brought complications. A high-ranking female military officer poses in formal uniform during an era when women rarely achieved senior command positions. Her ribbons and insignia represent years of service in male-dominated armed forces. Authority wore different faces. Japanese schoolgirls practice emergency preparedness procedures during World War II civilian protection programs. These drills prepared young people for potential chemical attacks while maintaining educational routines during wartime. Learning continued despite danger. In Missouri, a massive explosion created this enormous crater on Interstate 44 near Springfield. 20 tons of explosives detonated after an incident involving a transport truck. The highway became an unexpected battlefield between progress and destruction. Prisoners in Pitt County, North Carolina, traveled to work sites in mobile cages during the early 1900s. These men built roads while confined in wagon-based cells between job locations. Justice served with a side of public infrastructure development. A massive naval airship hovers above American cities during World War II coastal defense operations. These floating sentries watched for enemy submarines lurking beneath peaceful waters. The sky became America's first line of defense. Allied soldiers crowd into landing craft before storming Normandy beaches during history's largest amphibious invasion. These young faces show determination mixed with fear as they approach Nazi-occupied France. Freedom's price sailed across the English Channel. Carol Derange provides witness testimony during important legal proceedings that helped establish modern victim rights protections. Her courage in speaking out contributed to significant improvements in criminal justice procedures. Truth demanded bravery. A fallen statue head lies broken on Hungarian streets after citizens toppled symbols of oppression during their uprising. This damaged monument represents the price of freedom when people rise against tyranny. Revolution measured in shattered stone. An elderly woman displays intricate tattoos covering her arms, preserving ancient cultural traditions through permanent body modification. These geometric patterns told stories that governments tried to erase through forced assimilation. Identity survived beneath skin. Carved figures stand frozen in Strasbourg Cathedral, their stone faces witnessing centuries of human struggle below. These medieval sculptures represent virtues crushing vices beneath their feet while generations passed. Art became humanity's moral compass. Aleister Crowley poses during the dangerous K2 expedition, his eyes reflecting the mystical obsessions that would define his controversial legacy. This mountaineer sought spiritual enlightenment through extreme physical challenges in remote peaks. Adventure became spiritual quest. Maurice Graves stands contemplatively in his garden, surrounded by towering stems that mirror his artistic vision of nature's mysteries. The reclusive painter found inspiration in solitude while creating mystical landscapes. Art bloomed in isolation. The Velvet Underground performs at Chicago's Playboy Club, bringing experimental rock to an audience unprepared for their radical sound. This performance planted seeds for punk music decades before it exploded. Revolution wore leather jackets. Circus elephants, Meni and Kiri, clear bombing rubble from Hamburg's destroyed streets after World War II ended. These gentle giants helped rebuild civilization while their trainers searched for surviving family members. Peace required unexpected helpers. A Soviet prisoner displays elaborate tattoos telling his criminal history across his chest and arms. Each symbol revealed crimes committed, sentences served, and status within the brutal prison hierarchy system. Skin became autobiography. Women rest in a New York establishment during the early 1900s when certain substances were legally available but poorly regulated. These venues operated openly in immigrant neighborhoods before modern health regulations were established. Medicine evolved slowly. Italian composer Luigi Russolo operates his experimental noise machine designed to recreate industrial sounds for musical performances. His radical instruments challenged traditional harmony while predicting the electronic music revolution decades ahead. Noise became symphony. Hundreds of identical baby doll heads await final assembly in a factory warehouse during post-war manufacturing boom. These mass-produced companions would comfort children while their plastic smiles hid industrial anonymity. Childhood became commodity. A religious leader returns to Iran as supporters gather in Tehran streets during the 1979 political transition. His arrival marked a significant shift in the nation's governance structure and regional dynamics. Change arrived with ceremony. Every image you've seen today carries secrets that textbooks overlooked and history forgot to mention. If you're fascinated by the untold stories behind familiar faces and forgotten moments, hit subscribe and join us every week as we reveal the hidden narratives captured in history's most powerful photographs. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like this video.